it's fantastic to be here. I think firstly, I'd like to say a big thank you to the Phoenix, to Rob, to Gilly, to Domi, for putting faith in me to come back to the game. I'm super excited to get to this point. Obviously had conversations with the Phoenix, but at the same time respecting the restriction that I've been under. But for me, I think coming back, it's felt like the right move. I think just coming back and seeing these facilities that we're in here right now, I think, it's got a really good feeling about the club. There's a lot of female coaches in the club. There's some unbelievable players, and they've acquired some more unbelievable players. So, just super excited. I can't wait to get to work. Today's a good day.
How do you reflect on the last 12 months?
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, I can't really speak to the details of what went on in Paris and the things around that. But, for me, I've taken that 12 months to reflect, to learn, to grow. It's been very difficult. And I'm just excited to put my head down, work hard, and get back to work and do what I love every day.
Do you have any regrets?
I think, everybody involved will certainly have regrets. For sure. I think, again, what I will say is I'm a pretty optimistic person, and I think there's been days in the last 12 months that optimism has been very difficult. But again, it feels like Christmas Day to me, I think, to come back. And I know I have to earn the trust of everybody, and I'll be working hard to do that. But like I say, I'm thrilled to be here, and I can't wait to get to work.
Have there been any challenging conversations to be had with members of this team who were members of the football ferns a year ago?
There hasn't to date. I haven't actually spoke to the players. Obviously I've only just been appointed. But what I will say is when you're a coach, you have to earn the trust of every player that you walk into the door with, and that's no different. What I will say is I think coming back to New Zealand, it's a place I spent a lot of my career. I've worked with quite a few former and maybe the odd current football fern. And people picked up the phone the minute I was in New Zealand, and I thought that was really special. I think people know my character, and things happen right in life, and not everybody is perfect. And, again, I've reflected, I'll grow on that. But, to get phone calls and connect with current and former football ferns and welcome me with open arms, I think for me that feels really special, and it's why I love New Zealand.
Yeah, just on that, I guess you touched on the players, but fans maybe a little less, forgiving and understanding. Do you feel like you maybe owe it to the fans to do something good with this club? Yeah, absolutely. I think what I do know is I spent a lot of time at Porirua Park, Christmas onwards, and absolutely love that. It's a real fortress. I think really passionate fans who really care about their city, their club, and all I want to do is, put a smile on their face and just work hard and really represent this city, but also this country. I want this team to be New Zealand's team, and I want to create a moment where everybody knows where they were in that moment. It's not easy. It won't be easy. We know that. But absolutely, I think, I want to meet the fans. I want to get them on board and get behind this team. And I think also I want the players, the unbelievable players that are at this club, to be the face of this team. And I don't want anything that's gone on in the past 12 months to take away from actually the great work that this club and these players are doing. People could look at your resume, age groups with Canada, head coach of Canada, assistant of England, and think, why the Phoenix? What attracted you to the Wellington Phoenix?
I think, I've talked about the club and what they're doing, but for me, New Zealand has a huge place in my heart. They've given a lot to me in my career. Started here in Wellington, 2008, then went on to work with New Zealand football and worked really hard on the whole of football plan and coaching courses and that sort of stuff. My family are from New Zealand. My wife's a Kiwi, played for New Zealand, is from Wellington. Now my little boy is a Kiwi. So I think for me, this country's got a big meaning to me. And I want to make this country and this city proud. But also Wellington has a rich history of producing some unbelievable players. Wendy Henderson, Maureen Jacobson, Sarah Gregorius, CJ Bott, the list goes on. And I think for me, Wellington is a football city. And I think the last thing I'd say on that is I've spent my career at international level, right? And that's different. You win a game, you lose a game, you have to wait months before you're back together. I think I wanted a challenge where every day I'm on the pitch, because I think that's where I get my energy, being around players. And that's a new challenge for me. It's not going to be easy, and I wanted a challenge.
Given how much, you're saying New Zealand means to you, spent so much of your career here, does it make what happened in France sadder, given who it was against?
Absolutely, yeah.
Were there reservations about moving to New Zealand, knowing that you wouldn't be escaping the spotlight of what happened?
Do you know, I think, yeah, when we relocated, it was very difficult. I think, I didn't leave my house for a month in Canada. But yeah, relocated, and I didn't think twice. I think New Zealand is a really special place with some special people. It was nice to get away, I think, and spend the first probably 5 months away from probably a football community, but just, on a beach in Rangiora, and yeah, where the world sort of, doesn't leave you alone, but you're out of the spotlight. And then I think at the turn of Christmas, moving up here, it just feels like a full circle moment. Yeah, like I say, I have a lot of history in this country. Really love the people, love the culture, and I'm really pleased to be part of the Phoenix fan now.
Can you ever just clarify that timeline of coming to New Zealand? So you were in Canada for a month. Was it purely family decision to come back to New Zealand, was it?
Yeah, I think, for me, I didn't feel safe. I think that's been brutally honest. I think it was very difficult for my family, and, I have to live with that. I have to weigh that. And for me, we just, wanted to get around family. And what I will say in everything, there's opportunity, and I've spent some unbelievable time with my little boy. I spent a lot of time on the road. Those moments I won't get back. So yeah, I think to be around family and just work on yourself. I think, when you've been through something like that, and, I think it's important to reflect, grow, and now I feel ready. I've got that itch, and like I say, it's like Christmas Day to me today to go back and do what I love. And I'll be forever grateful to the club for getting me back into the game.
You didn't feel safe in Canada. What do you mean by that? What
Yeah, I think obviously it was an absolute media frenzy. You've got people knocking at your door and everything, and I've got a little boy, and I think, yeah, without going into too much detail, it was very difficult. And like I say, I think for my family, and that's the most important thing to me, I think we knew we had to get out of that country and just, yeah, I guess, be your family and focus on us.
On paper, people might see the A-League as a step down, but do you see this as a career reset and a way of starting again, I guess?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a really competitive league. I think going to the games, you can't pick who's going to win on any given day, and I think that's the place where you get the best out of yourselves, in games where you challenge yourself week in, week out. And that's something I've always sort of believed in terms of, like, when I've coached international teams, target and playing some of the best teams in the world regularly. So yeah, I think it's a difficult league. I think you've got different complexities, right? I think Wellington, you're travelling to an international fixture every second week maybe, heat, time zone changes, visa plays, and trying to blend that culture and getting that right. I think there's a lot of challenges, and it's a different challenge. And like I say, I just want to get my head down, want to work hard, and replay this club and the faith that's been put in me to lead this team. It's a huge honour and privilege, and I take it seriously.
If you are to leave the club in 2 years at the end of the contract, where would you want to be leaving the Phoenix in 2 years' time?
Do you know, I haven't really thought about that. I've thought about, this season and getting to work. Yeah, I'm here, I'm present. I want to stay in the present. If that's something else, I think when you talk about reflections, I just want to live for today and be super where I am and give it my best shot.
So, I mean, this is only just being announced, obviously you talked to the Phoenix and the rights, but has there been any interaction with players, or what sort of reception you've had?
Yeah, I think from this point forward, my plan is to sit down with every single player and get to know them one-on-one. I've obviously had to respect the ban, but yeah, my first thing is to sit down with every player and really get to understand who they are as human beings, and really start to try and pave a way forward, and then get the whole group together, obviously for pre-season, but I think before that, I'd love to get everybody on a Zoom call and some in face to face and really start to map out the vision for the team and who we're going to be and what we're going to look like. And I'm excited for that part. I think I've missed that part of working with players.
Have you, the team's obviously got close to the playoffs last couple of years, hasn't quite been able to make it. The things you mentioned before, travel, heat, time zones, integrating visa players, they're all still there. What are the keys to turning this into a playoff team?
Yeah, I think, what I will say is I must credit the work that Paul and Natalie before me did that. I think, this club has grown over a 5-year period and I feel like they've done it really well. They did some tremendous work. There was times last year I was at the games and I felt we were the better team and just maybe didn't come away with the result. So I think for me, I have experience, obviously North America, you get on a plane and it's 5-6 hours most times, time zone changes, weather changes. So I have experience in that space. I think we've got world-class facilities to help us with that. So yeah, I think for me, it's going to be really setting the vision and, to be honest, really setting the challenge high and the standards high. And I think just with some of the recruitment and players coming in with their level of experience, that's going to be a great blend of know what it means to play for the city with some international experience, with some added quality. I think you've got to blend all those things together. But I think my experiences will help me in some of the challenges that we've had to navigate. But don't get me wrong, I don't feel like this is just roll into it and we're off and, it's an easy run. I've seen that league, and football has a funny way of, challenging you. You look at the winners last year, Central Coast Mariners. I think Emily did an unbelievable job to come away with that title. And that was a together team. And I think team spirit and togetherness is critical for any team that goes to win. I know that, I've experienced that, and that's the first thing that we have to get right.
Gilly, we know Bev's, CV and resume as a coach. Was there reservations as a club given what happened, 12 months ago?
No, not at all. We had conversations, obviously. We discussed what had gone on, and as Rob alluded to, we're completely comfortable with who Bev is, who she is as a football coach, who she is as a person, and we're thrilled to have her at the club.
Did you imagine a coach of Bev's credentials being at the Phoenix?
If you'd asked me this 12 months ago, I would have said, no way, Jose, right? But, fate works in mysterious ways, and to have her here in Whitby and now able to coach the Phoenix is just, it's perfect. Yeah, I think first time we had a conversation would have been, reasonably close after the season had finished. We had coffee, we sat and talked for about an hour, I think it was, and obviously you got a sense for the character, a sense for the person, that sort of winning mentality and who she was really shone through. And you never know where it could potentially lead to, particularly with a person of Bev's calibre. But within a couple of weeks, I think we were all sort of aligned that this is something that could happen.
And Bev has a strong roster already that you're going to be coaching. Where else do you need to strengthen before the squad's complete?
Yeah, I think, we probably midfield and another forward, I think, is something we've talked about. And we do have some in the pipeline that, in the next week or so, I think we'll look to announce. But, I think overall the theme would be experience. Obviously, you've seen the signings that we've made to date. I think some quality. You look at Samba, as a number 9, I think that really can bolster that side of it. But I think more importantly, I think the character, the work ethic, and a real positive forward-thinking players has been something that I've seen from the signings that the club have made, but also for the signings that are to come in the coming weeks.
How important is it for you that this team's successful that people in 12 months' time aren't talking about it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, the success hopefully takes care of itself, but I think what sits inside the success is just as important to me. I think when someone turns up to Pororua Park or tunes in on TV, I think there's certain values and things you'd like to see from a team that I think captures the hearts of people who watch football matches. It's often hard work. It's people who show individualism and bravery to do things on the ball. I think that's the side of it, plus the stories of the players off the pitch. You look at someone like Samba. Vic Essen. You know, there's certain stories behind all of these players, whether it be coming back from injuries, where they've grown up. There's something inside that as well that I think can inspire young players and young girls and boys to take up the game. So I think it's, yes, the results, of course, that's what people, you get a bigger following and all the rest of it with results. But I also think it's the little things that sit inside that lead to results. They're the things that I'll be chasing every day that I know that leads to winning.
And then we're going to talk about so a year out football, football activity, what they mean like you couldn't do, you know, be able to coach your son's team, or like, you know, is there anything that you could do?
No, I think, you know, I didn't. What I will say is I celebrated last night coaching the under-7s of my son's team in the pouring down Wellington rain. That was a nice, humbling experience, but, you know, they got all the energy from me in that moment because I've just been itching to do that. Having to support Emma to volunteer and coach that under-7s team. But no, I think nothing related to being on the grass. And to be honest with you, there was a period where I just wasn't ready. I think for me, my career has been spent in high performance. And with that comes certain habits that you build, right? Exercise, good sleep, food. And in the toughest moments, those were the things I knew I had to get out of bed and do. And I think for me, I've always been big on learning and bettering myself. And there's been periods, podcasts, courses, that sort of thing, when I felt ready. And that was at the turn of Christmas. So I've spent my time doing that. And to be honest, connecting with mentors and coaches around the world, I think what I will say is your circle does get smaller in these moments, but there's some unbelievable people who've offered their support from the minute it happened in Paris and who know me as a human, and I'll be forever grateful for them to stand by me in those moments. But also I think, you know, I have to say thank you to my family because I couldn't have got through the past 12 months without them.
If you're looking for a midfielder, committed, experienced,
Yeah.
is it going to be the shortest retirement in history for Anna?
She knows where we are. You know, I think, listen, I got to see Flea last season and she was a real, she dictated a lot of things on the football pitch, and for me, probably some of the best football I've ever seen her play. But I think, you know, I've been on the coach of some big retirements in their careers, and it's a difficult moment, I think, for anyone to make that decision and be comfortable with it. I think, yeah, I mean, I'd welcome her back with open arms. I'm sure the whole of Wellington and the country would. But, you know, we have to respect where she's at in her career. But, yeah, I thought she was absolutely outstanding, and, yeah, she'll always be welcome.
Everything that you've been through in the last 12, 13 months, what's your emotion today?
If you want honesty from me, I was so excited, but also I'm a little bit traumatized, I think, from the media side of things. And, you know, I hope to build that trust and relationship with the people in this room. So, yeah, super, super excited, nervous, right? I think, you know, I've tried to stay out the spotlight and now I'm back in it a little bit. But, yeah, I just can't wait to get to work and work with the players. And so far, my experience with this club, the people in this room who are at the back from the club, they work so hard. I think, you know, again, being in and around the community, I just see people like Domi and Gilly and all of the people involved. They work unbelievably hard for this football club, and I'm going to do the same.
Did you ever consider the football firm's job? I know the timeline, you know, was announced a few months ago, but were you looking at that potentially as a way back into football?
Yeah, I think, you know, what I will say is I'd like to congratulate Michael Main. I think great character. You know, I bumped into him not so long ago, and yeah, I think I might have actually taken him on his first coaching course back in the day. And, you know, he's an unbelievable human, and I wish him and the football ferns the best of luck in everything that they do. I'll be doing everything I can to support with the players that we secure for the football ferns to help them go and be successful in any player, I think, that plays internationally. But for me, you know, this feels right. I want to get on the pitch every single day. And I get to do that now, and that's just a different challenge for me.
Was it the first time you'd spoken to him since Paris, or have you reached out to him prior?
Yeah, we spoke in January. So again, I think, you know, as the turn of Christmas and coming up to Wellington and things, we spoke. And like I say, he was really good.
High expectations for this club, especially, I guess, the women's program, given how much they've invested. How successful, you know, you've seen the roster, you're about to start working with them. How successful do you think you season?
Yeah, I mean, I think I have a history of understand what it takes to win and the high performance processes that go in it. I think when I get them all on a football pitch and I get to feel and see where people fit and how that can blend together, I've got no doubt we can go and do some firsts for this football club. And I think that's the aim, is to go and create some moments that this football club's not had before.
Do you expect to be in a position where you can talk openly about everything that happened at any point?
Yeah, I'm not sure at this stage, but I think again, I think for the sake of everyone affected by it, would like to be able to move forward. And I understand that's people are doing their job here, but I think I want to make sure that the players at this club and probably the players affected can move on from it all and just do what they do well on a football pitch.